The African continent had been fighting foreign adversaries for centuries. This had given birth to some of the most strongest and most powerful women the continent had ever produced. These were the women who took arms and fought for their countries, while men chickened out.
ohAFRO. Amina Mohamud. Hausa Queen Amina, also known as Queen Amunatu, was a Nigerian queen who ruled over a vast stretch of land in the late 16th centuries. Born into the royal family of Zazzau, presently known as Zaria, she was trained in political and military matters since her childhood. She served under her brother as the head of cavalry for 10 years, gaining wealth and fame. For the next 34 years, she reigned ambitiously. Today, she is remembered not only for her bravery, but also for building fortification walls called Ganwar Amina around her cities. She is well celebrated in Nigeria for introducing kola nuts. The Kadaki of Ethiopia. Kadaki was the name given to any queen or empress of Ethiopia, and these great women were seen to be wives of the gods or the living god. Kandasi of 332 BC has a particular story that still should stand tall today. Despite the lack of knowledge of these queens, this legend eventually made its way out. The actual name of this empress is known as Amani Renas. She was blind in one eye due to losing it in a battle. She was known to be a fierce, tactical, and uniting leader. Alexander the Great had reached Kemet, ancient Egypt, and was gearing up to battle into Ethiopia. Alexander never fought Kandasi though, and there are a few accounts as to why. One account narrates that upon the empress's hearing of Alexander's quest to conquer Ethiopia, she gathered her black troops, lined them up, and stood on top of 2 African elephants. Alexander the Great didn't want to chance a loss and give up his undefeated winning streak. He definitely didn't want to lose it to a woman. He realized an invasion would be a terrible idea and therefore pulled off his armies.
Makeda, the Queen of Sheba, Ethiopia. The story of the Queen of Sheba, known as Makeda in Ethiopia, is a very popular biblical story. The same woman is also known in Arabic as Bilqis. The Queen of Sheba appears as a prominent figure in Ethiopian history and tradition. According to tradition, the Queen of Sheba, called Makeda, visited Solomon's court after hearing about his wisdom. She stayed and learned from him for 6 months. On the last night of her visit, he tricked her into his bed and she became pregnant. She turned to her kingdom where she bore Solomon a son called Menelik. Menelik I was made king by his father, thus founding the royal Solomonic dynasty of Ethiopia, which ruled until the deposition of Haile Selassie in 1974.
Nefertiti, Queen of ancient Kemet, Egypt. Nefertiti was the great royal wife of King Akhenaten. In Western culture, is perhaps ancient Egypt's most famous queen, as the iconic bust in the Berlin Museum evinces. In fact, Nefertiti holds the position as the Egyptian queen with the most surviving appearances on monuments and other artistic mediums. During his reign, Akhenaten enacted a series of shocking religious and societal changes that recentered the Egyptian pantheon around a formerly peripheral god, the Aten. Yaa Asantewa of the Ashante Kindom. Yaa Asantewa is said to have lived between 1840 and 1921. She was an intellectual, a politician, human rights activist, queen, and a leader. Yaa Asantewa became famous for leading the Ashanti Rebellion against British colonialism to defend the Golden Stool. She promoted women emancipation as well as gender equality. She is well known for leading the famous war known as the War of the Golden Stool in 1900 against the British. She was captured and sent on exile to Seychelles. Yaa Asantewa's war was the last major war led by an African woman. To date, she is honored in Africa as one of Africa's greatest women. The Dahomey Amazons, also known as Minu, which means our mothers in the Fon dialect, were an all-female military army of the Republic of Benin, which was known at the time as the Kingdom of Dahomey. The kingdom was largely made up of Fon people. We were situated towards the south of Benin. The term Amazon was derived from the Western observers due to their similarities in build to the Amazons in Greek mythology. By the 19th century, the Female Warriors of Dahomey had grown from a 600 female troop to around 6,000. King Bihanzin, the last king of Dahomey, was overthrown by the French in the Second Franco-Dahomeyan War. The Dahomey warriors were defeated and disbanded as a result, thus reflecting their motto, "If soldiers go to war, they should conquer or die." Jingam Bongo. Jingam Bongo, Queen of Dongo and Matamba, defined much of the history of 17th century Angola. She is celebrated for her intelligence, political and diplomatic wisdom. Born into the ruling family of Dongo, Zinga received military and political training as a child. She later assumed power over the kingdoms after the death of her father and brother, who both served as kings. She ruled during a period of rapid growth in the African slave trade and encroachment of the Portuguese Empire into Southwest Africa in attempts to control the slave trade. Queen Nani. Queen Nani was an 18th century leader, warrior, and spiritual advisor. Born in 1686 in present-day Ghana, Western Africa, she was sent as a slave to Jamaica, where she became leader of the Maroons, a group of runaway Jamaican slaves. She is believed to have led attacks against British troops and freed hundreds of slaves. She was also known as a powerful Ubiya, practitioner of folk magic and religion. Ininga was a legendary princess considered as the mother of the Mosi people of Burkina Faso. She was a precious female warrior for her father, but the princess aspired to another destiny and decided to leave the kingdom. On the run with her horse, she met a younger hunter, Riale, with whom she had a child called Odrogo. Odrogo is a famous last name in Burkina Faso, which means male horse in honor to the horse which leads the princess to Riale. Ininga, or her son Odrogo, are considered the founder of Mosi kingdoms. There are different versions to this story, but one truth still remains. Ininga is the epitome of an African female warrior.
Luisa Mahin, born at the beginning of the 19th century, was an Afro-Brazilian freedom fighter. A natural leader, Mahin became involved in revolts and uprisings of slaves in the Brazilian province Bahia. A street vendor by profession, Luisa Mahin was most iconically known to have been very involved in many of the slave revolts and uprisings that occurred in Bahia during the early half of the 19th century. She was a key player and strategist in the Mali revolt as she helped to distribute messages in Arabic to others involved. It's not clear whatever happened to Luisa Mahin. Some say she escaped to Rio de Janeiro. Some say she was found and arrested before being deported to Angola. Other tales say she escaped to Maranhão, where she settled and helped to influence Afro-Brazilian culture. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, tell us some important women in your countries. Do turn on the notification bell for future updates though, because there are some pretty sick videos coming up. I'm your host Murphy, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.